Good afternoon. Today's session is going to be on managerial competency and career development. We're going to see what is this paper all about. Before I start this paper, I've always seen this as a different perspective in organization where we used to comment like, it goes with an analogy. Um, Two things you're not supposed to be like. One is not to be like an egg, very fragile, and when there's a competition, a stress become very hardened. Not to be like a carrot, very hard when there's a competition and stress become very soft. Would be like coffee powder, which has its own flavor and essence, and it does not change itself. But when added to water, it changes the entire environment. So that's how competency is all about. So competency is not just you surviving an organization; it's also creating an environment and organization where collaborative working becomes very, very interesting. And this is a new field in the gamut of HR, very recently gaining a lot of importance in organization. So this was the gap felt in the industry where it was suggested by the industry expert that if this specialization is offered in the university, there is all chances for a student to understand the basics of competency, equip himself before he lands into his first corporate career, and there's also an opportunity for him to start his own consultancy. So basically, this paper focuses on his career building ability, competency development, and also gives enough scope for the student to start in consultancy. Consulting is the heart of any management education. So that is this paper. So why competencies? Because as you know, the definition goes that competency is all about knowledge, skill, and attitude. This paper is going to give you a perspective of the reality, what is expected in the industry, what's trending in the industry, what is sought from you when you join, what can you expect from your team when you join the industry, and basically it aims at bridging the gap between competency and productivity. Um, I also got a question about what are the course objective of competency development. Well, the primary course objective of competency development is optimization of productivity. So this course focuses on tools and techniques, and this completely focuses on real-time application and case studies, where we focus on successful organization, how they were able to build up the system as part of their culture. We are also going to look at organizations that failed and could not build competency as part of their culture. So you will get an idea about the success factors and factors that contributed to failure. Quite an interesting paper because this is a case-based paper where you have a lot of case studies to solve and a lot of debates and group discussion because it's an interactive paper that involves a lot of brainstorming because at the end of the day it focuses on consulting. So it's a collaborative teamwork paper that requires a lot of interest and enthusiasm. And if you love contributing to that, then this is the place for you. Um, I was also asked, what does this focus on? So basically, competency development focuses on adding value to organizational objectives, adding value to organization strategic decisions. As you all know, HR has evolved into hiring, firing to strategic business partnership. So today, the HR has expanded to the extent that behind every strategic decision an organization takes, HR also plays a very dominant role in co-facilitating the execution of the strategy. And most of the organization today have realized that they have to move ahead from very traditional appraisal methods to competency-based appraisal methods, which is the contemporary method. And they've also understood that from individual performance, it's more focused on team-based performance today. So because the culture of the organization is changing, I think it's high time the HRs must also open up their perspectives and change according to the needs and wants of the industry, because this is the predictive trend in 2020s to 30s. It's all going to get converted from individual potential to competency. And so you've already heard about terms like EQ, SQ, IQ, but there's another Q evolving in industry, which is the CQ, which is the competency quotient. So the entire exercise of a HR, right from recruitment to exit, it's going to be competency based. Competency is the future, and that's precisely the reason why this is there in your term. I got a lot of questions about its application, its relevance. So let me take the questions one by one. The first question I got was, what are the new skills needed to be learned before leaving college? Um, well, I have interacted with quite a lot of students. I've also interacted with HRs who have told me that the skills that's precisely required and being expected by the corporate that you would learn in 2 years is foremost is organizational awareness. So you have to know how an organization works, what are the life cycle of an organization, and how does the economy contribute to it. So that's the first expectation. The second strong communication skills. When I'm saying communication skill, precisely about writing skills. So, what do organizations expect today? So, sometime back I told you that we are driving ourselves towards collaborative appraisals, we're driving ourselves towards team building. So, the right kind of communication skill that is expected and most relevant today is collaborative business writing. So, the organization really wants you to be strong in writing. They want you to be strong in proposal pitching, and the last is alignment. So because the organization is moving towards a competency based culture, right when they hire you, they look at what is your competency quotient, and you know what is being expected and you've been trained to deal with it. What can be more fun than that? So that is the best answer for your question of new skills that you have to learn. The second question that I got was, can we apply HR techniques to all other field? Definitely, you can apply HR techniques to all other field. I know most of the HRs, aspiring HRs, would definitely be member of the group called SHRM. So HR for some time was known as strategic HR, human resource management. Today, we're slowly moving from strategic human resource management to competency based human resource management. So there's a transition from SHRM to CHRM. And as I told you, HR doesn't work in silos today in organization, but it works more as business partnership. So definitely HR is a cross-functional department that needs to deal with all of the domains, all of the functions like marketing, finance, and it's collaborative working. So HR has relevance everywhere. That's the scenario today. And luckily, there's a expanding market for the want and need for HR also in organizations because the roles of HRs are expanding. The third question I got was, what are the major aspect of managerial competence? Well, as I told you, the acronym for it is ASK, A for attitude. So the first thing that counts in competency building is attitude. So organizations look at, do you have the ability to be trained? Are you open? Do you have the ability to expand your views, and do you have the ability to communicate? So these are the organizations today work on feedback basis, and that is the heart of the entire process today. Skills, they look at your core skills, technical skills, most importantly, what value you can add to the existing system. Precisely, why should they hire you? What do you have in you, and why should they hire you? So you must have an apt answer for that question. So what value add do you think you are going to make to the organization is the expectation. And the third most expectation is they expect you to be proactive. So organizations today don't need people who can react to situation, but they need people who can be proactive to forecast and tell them, hey look, this could happen and I have a solution for you. So that's exactly the kind of situation prevailing, and that's the expectation of the recruiters too. There's another interesting question which asked me, how are employee engaged on a day-to-day basis? But organizations today have a very structured policy for employment engagement. We have the best of the tools. We have engagement surveys happening. happening, and the findings of the surveys are taken very critically in building up culture of the organization. Well, that happens on a quarterly, half yearly, annually basis, but if I have to tell you how it happens on a daily basis, then I think there are three important things. The first thing is the employee have to be respected. Like you feel like working, coming to work every day, you're engaged. There's no regret for Monday mornings, you're engaged. Um, Gives it scope and opportunity for the employee to present himself, probably participate in decision making. An opportunity itself would count, keep him more engaged and happy that his points are considered. And the third most important thing is visibility. Who is that man who does not like being appreciated, his efforts being acknowledged? Definitely. So we have moved from a culture where all this appreciation used to be accumulated and given at the end of the year as a performance appraisal feedback, but today people need instant gratification. So that's the need of the millennials, and yes, the corporate has also understood this. So knowing this, I think we would love to come to work every day. Um, the next question that I got was, what are the aspiring HR should keep in mind? So that was the question that I got. So the most important skill that aspiring HR has to keep in mind is, the first skill is how good is he in market research? Because if you would not know, the entire operations of HR today work on market research. So the company also looks at how good he or she is in data mining. So that data mining ability is the most required ability. And I think most of you are skilled in it because for everything you run to Google. So probably it goes without saying. The second is technology, because most of our training, development, and other knowledge platforms and organization have become digitalized, and they want you to be tech savvy to understand the nuances of how technology works, or at least awareness about where you can apply automation to make it less burdening on the workforce. And you would have also read articles about most of the HR functions today collaborating with artificial intelligence to get automated. So that's again happening, but in a very nascent stage in Indian organization. But yes, that's the plan before 2030 that corporates are looking at. Another important thing is, a HR cannot say that HR is my domain, so I don't need to know other domains. You would not know, or probably would be surprised to know. HR's role is 80% HR and 20% finance. So the HR must definitely know basics of finance, must definitely know to pitch, negotiate, persuade like a marketer, but definitely know what are the nuances of operations to understand its criticality. So this is a you can't, the bad news is you can't omit any chapter, you can't omit any domain. Say I'm not connected to it because I'm going to specialize in HR and I don't need to know this. No, but sadly, I'm sorry, you can't do that. So HR have to be jack of all trade. That is the expectation. Creative communication, again, you're going to work with multi-generational workforce, so it demands that creative communication to adapt to every generation, put your point across, and not have conflicts of interest, rather minimize conflict of interest. Definitely, HRs must know legal framework. That is very, very important, because without legal framework, it becomes very difficult to operate, because we work with standard procedures, we work with SOPs, we will have a lot of um, licensing with the government and other rules and laws which we need to do. So I've always told HRs that you must take this paper called labor welfare and industrial relations, because that's the heart of HR as you grow up the career ladder. So you will be doing more of compliance related role when you grow up the career ladder in HR. And the last and the most important skill is attention to fine details, because if you have attention to fine details, it becomes very easy for you to get connected to the big picture. And that's what is expected. So there's an interesting question that says, with what mindset should you take HR field? So, have you ever heard what Bigfoot, Monster, and HR have all common? They all have something in common, and that is a lot of myths about them. Yeah? So the first myth that I have usually heard is when I handle class for the first years. Normally, they ask me a question, "Ma'am, is HR all about women? Do men really fit into this HR? Because we have heard it's an all-women department. We've always heard only women take HR, and what is it? If you think it's an all women department, then you're wrong because HR today is very competitive and we call it a gender neutral department. It's a gender neutral department where what you are doesn't matter. At the end of the day, how much you're able to contribute to this field matters more. And today, there's equal representation of both the genders in the organization, and I'm also happy to share that the culture has even opened up for the LGBT community, where we don't see what orientation they belong to. We only see what skills they have, what competency they have, and how much are they able to contribute. So I'm happy that we are moving towards an inclusive workplace essentially. So that is what is HR all about. And HR is not about recruitment, and HR is not about hiring and firing today. HRs have a most important role in the organization where they are considered as profit centers. Gone are the days where they used to be considered as cost centers. Today they're considered as profit centers. So, the most important key area of a HR manager in our organization would be plugging profit leaks. So that's exactly what is expected out of you. Now you would understand why I said finance also play a major part, when you do HR. And we've opened up views today. There's collaborative recruitment happening. Many interesting venues have been opened up for knowledge management, knowledge sharing, training development. So HR is not a lone wolf in organization these days. That's the good news about being a HR in an organization. There's another question which says how to develop skills related to HR. So the most important method in which you could develop skill is networking. No other area is going to give you that exposure. How much ever you read cases, how much ever you subscribe to journal or read about research articles, it's nothing like talking about experience to somebody. And HR is one such stream where it's always nice that you meet as many people as possible and get to know their experience, get to know about how did they handle conflicts, get to know about what did they did when the situation was getting tough, get to know from them how did they handle turbulence in the industry. I think those success stories and those failure stories is really going to contribute for you to understand about what this field is all about, because this field more than theories and models requires a lot of common sense. So that's what is this field all about. Market research, as I've already spoke to you. And most important, attend as many as conference and seminars possible, because in HR it's arts. It's not science which defines like this is the formula and you apply this formula, you would be able to achieve success or your model immediately launched, or it does not happen that way. It's art. So the more exposed you get to how people handle scenario, the more of appreciative inquiry you apply, the more of questions you ask, and the more of interactions you do with people, I think that is going to guide you the right way than any other literature for that matter for HR as far as it's concerned. What are the major competencies of HR if you want to be in the stream of training and development? So that's one question which is being asked to me. So as you know, training and development is slowly gaining lot of importance today, because the organizations are moving from strategic HRM to competency based HRM, and to for this transformation it cannot really work unless and until the employer and the employee branding match up with each other. And what's the bridge that matches the bonding? It's nothing but training. So if you want to be in the stream of training and development, the first and foremost important skill that you need to have is creativity and innovation. So what is that new you are going to do, and how are you going to reach to your target audience so that they take you seriously and they implement it, and we are both moving towards productivity. So companies are looking at that ability. How good are you in training people? You have to deal with short sets, shelf life training, because we are moving towards a competent culture. So there's not going to be a rigid agenda which says that this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're going to train your employees on. This training mapping, training need analysis is becoming so critical that we're actually doing it once a week. Gone are the days when we used to do once a quarter, but today we do once a week because learning has evolved. Companies are transforming themselves from a very stagnant culture to a learning culture. Collaborate with vendors, collaborate with organizations, collaborate with institutions that give you latest information about trends in HR. So you need to network with a lot of people. Design flexible learning options. So you have to be tech savvy to do that, definitely. And again, finance also comes into the picture, because a HR and a training and development should also have the ability to work out cost and feasibility. So cost consciousness is another skill which the organization looks critically when you have to be in this domain. So, how to measure competency among team, and how to know if it's really healthy? Is there any tool? So, one practical tool that we have tried out on corporates and that has worked is feedback system. So, some years back, feedback was taken very personally, and managers also wanted to be in good books. They wanted to be the good managers, so the feedback system was tweaked. But today we have programs like SIP, Continuous Improvement Program, where felicitation workshop happen. So we have trained the managers on giving them, feedback the right way, and making it more process centric and not person centric. Organizations don't focus anymore on weaknesses. They focus and spend a lot of time and energy in strengthening your strength. So it's all being strength finder feedback. That is a trend towards which we are moving into. And the other way in promoting healthy competition I have seen is benchmarking. So that's the tool which has worked in organization. There's also called appreciative inquiry. So this appreciative inquiry is a technique where there's peer learning happening. So somebody has done something nice, good, and it has contributed to the productivity. Then immediately share with you, and you're open to question them. And there's a lot of probing, brainstorming. So these are the tools and techniques. I think over a period of time, there's a lot of awareness about the difference between working as I, me to us. That transformation slowly coming into the picture, and there's good acceptance. So we're really seeing visible changes through these tools, and the company is actually looking for more tools. So you have an opportunity for your BRP if you want to really work on it. So there's a research gap which you can patch. So my last question for the session is, can you give us negotiation and persuasion tips? Okay. So when you say negotiation and persuasion, that's exactly the reason why I said legal framework knowledge for a HR is very, very important. So first and foremost, find common grounds. Well, on what are you wanting to debate? So find a common ground. It doesn't have to be argument without a purpose, or it doesn't have to be arguing because you have a stand there. So find a common ground, understand the reality, use your strength, and you encourage your partner to use his strength. Don't attack on weakness, because we're not moving towards that. At the end of the day, we all aspire for a win-win. So focus on strength, prepare your arguments. That's most important. So one skill that I see is a gap in the fresher, or so-called a candidate transiting from university to corporate or college to corporate, need to increase their ability to do more homework. So that's the missing part. So I think doing a little bit of homework and research about the kind of questions you want to ask, the kind of question you're looking forward to listen to, I think that would really make the entire negotiation meaningful. And strengthen your listening skills. Sadly, that only comes with practice. And be assertive, put your foot strong when you have to say a no. And that's another skill which I think the students from the college need to strengthen when they enter into the corporate. And most importantly, present multiple equivalent offer simulations. That is, you must have solutions. It's not like, you argue for it to know how much the other person knows about it. No, we are not really doing that. We are looking at solving the problem. So there has to be a lot of multiple suggestions presented to you, and let me tell you, it will not occur to you unless and until you know what people are doing, you know what is a trend in the market, and you're well read. So that's what is negotiation, and I would suggest please read through the recommendations of that now. That's going to really help you to understand what negotiation and persuasion is. Well, I've taken a lot of your time, and I think what I have inputs I've shared with you would give you guidance about why you would like to take HR, and what's more and what's the future for it. And all the aspirants looking for taking up the specialization, I wish you all the best in your endeavor. Thank you.